Hi, everyone. This is Todd Talks. I am joined by Jessica and TK. They both, well, one of you mainly organized this book, and one of you wrote your first adventure for this book. It's the Book of Seasons, Solstices. and did I say that right?
Solstices.
Solstices. It's available on DMs Guild right now, and it looks extremely cool and has some fantastic artwork. I have not gone to do a very big deep dive into it, but that's why you're here. So first off, both of you, how did this come about?
Well, there were a bunch of us in Uncaged, and as you might have noticed, we tend to make about 1 million projects together.
Yes.
We're kind of addicted to that. So around spring, I guess, it was right after Volume 1 came out, we started talking about doing something for the winter because we think really far ahead. And we're after that started thinking, what if there was more? What if it was more than just a one season anthology? Like, because we see a lot of bundles for like, here's your Halloween thing, here's your holiday, like midwinter thing. And figured, what if we did 2 volumes of another massive anthology? That one was solstices, so that's winter and summer, and the other one would be equinoxes, so that's spring and fall, and that's going to come out next year. And I was the one stupid enough to take it on and run the whole thing.
I know that feeling. This is really cool. Like already, like I'm impressed with the fan art that's in it, but there is a ton of content in this. There are so many writers. Like, how many adventures did you end up with?
So there's 20 adventures in each book. So there's 10 for each season.
Okay.
And we have tiers 1 through 4 covered. Each adventure has their own unique piece of art. Some of them also have unique spot art. We filled in with stock where we had to, but it was pretty cool that a lot of our artists stepped up to do like filler spots as well. And yeah, there's about 50 people involved in the whole project, all either from predominantly Uncaged, and then a couple artists from Friends, Foes, and Other Fine Folks, and Eat the Rich as well.
And TK, your story is Twisted Roots.
Mm-hmm.
What was it like writing your first published adventure?
It was really nerve-wracking at first because I got involved because I'm an editor for Uncaged, and Ashley and Lisa have really hardcore been pushing me to like write and publish an adventure. Like, go for it, you can do it, we believe in you and stuff. And I was like, no, you don't tell me to believe in myself. nobody's allowed to determine my self-worth except me, and I've determined it's trash. and so they were very encouraging about me trying something. I originally signed up as an editor, but then they were short on summer adventures, so I just threw something in. I was like, well, this has been a thing I've wanted to write about for a while, so I'll give it a shot. 3,000 words is pretty reasonable for a one-shot adventure, which is typically what I write if I'm writing adventures anyway. So
what's the adventure about? You said that you've been wanted to like write this for a while.
Twisted Roots is a very like it's kind of like Rosemary's Baby in a lot of ways, where it's like an evil spirit has a lot of interest in a baby, and the cast or the adventurers are supposed to decide how they feel about that. There are a lot of themes that you don't typically get to see covered in one shots, like the consequences of colonialism, and there are some themes of like culture and ritual sacrifice and like what that means and stuff, and just like maybe minding your own business and letting people solve their own problems and what happens when you don't let them do that. So Twisted Roots is basically about the party finds out that a Forgotten Realms missionary picked up a baby assumed the worst / best about the situation, cut down the tree that they found the baby under, and had that made into a crib, not realizing that this baby was put there as part of a sort of pact sort of thing to protect the village from starvation. It's based off of a lot of Western African cosmology and folktales, like Princess Moremi or Olorumbi, which are these mothers are famous for having promised their children to spirits and then turn around and outwit the spirits or trick them and save the baby. Except that story is cut short because this baby is picked up by somebody who's not minding their own business.
Oh, good point. Okay.
So a year later, this evil spirit that was in the tree is now in this baby's crib, and the village has risen up as undead, and they're terrorizing the house, and you'll just have to see, I guess.
Yeah. I don't want you to have to ruin it, but it sounds like a really fun adventure, and it's good to because we do have an endless parade of adventures where we're here to save you. Aren't you so happy we have arrived?
Yeah, it's like, you showed up in the middle of the plan. Cool, I guess. So yeah.
Thanks for your contribution.
Thank you.
Killing our entire
really
village.
love the art that David Markowski did for your adventure. It's incredible.
Beautiful
Very
art.
creepy.
Yeah, he had messaged me about it and we talked about it, and I was like, so I was thinking something very like Rosemary Babies-ish, where like the crib takes center scene and everything, and it was his idea to put the bodak in there, because I was kind of thinking just like the crib silhouetted with like the roots coming out, but then he put the bodak in there and I was like, yes, the bodak should be in there for reasons that are in the adventure, and I'm very pleased with that that he did that. So
do either of you, other than this particular adventure, have a few favorites that I know that it's impossible to ask because so many people contributed, but are there some that like really stuck out for you?
They're so good.
I know it's a mean ask. It's a mean ask.
I mean, I'm partial to the one that I wrote, but
tell me about the one you wrote.
It's really kind of silly. I wanted to cram in as much winter deity nonsense as I could, really. There's an entire cut side quest that's on my Patreon because I just fit in too many and went way over the word count that I set for everyone. But yeah, the Scandinavian Yule Cat is in there. It's basically a reskinned white dragon that has a swallow mechanic, because the Yule Cat goes around and eats everyone who doesn't get new clothes for Christmas.
Whoa.
So,
yeah. Yeah.
So the adventure starts when basically there's a multicultural town that is basically a mountain town where everybody just kind of stops by and a couple of people decide to live there. And over time, people stop believing. It's been settled for a while. And in a sort of American Godsy way, the spirits and deities get forgotten, kind of the way that we have forgotten a lot of them. Like, a lot of people don't know about Jólakötturinn or Frau Persha or Hans Trapp. Like, Krampus is kind of a big deal now, but a lot of the rest of them aren't.
Right.
So they're starving, and a group of them decide to make everyone remember them on one night, and the adventures just kind of happen to be there when they all show up. And there's stuff like a riddle contest with Mary Lyde. The Yule lads are there just kind of wreaking havoc. And of course it ends with a coven, because I freaking love hags. And
hags are the best.
The adventurers get to decide, like, if the winter spirits are right, or if the town is right and people should forget about them and go about their way, or just kind of go off and do their own thing.
I love that stuff. I love it. Yeah, those I mean, and if you're a good DM, you realize you've run yourself into a corner. But I had an adventure where there were I didn't realize, like, I knew the twist in the adventure was like this green dragon basically had its egg stolen from this town, but everyone was mean in town, and like the heroes figured it out immediately, and they're like, you know what if we don't help anyone, what if we just leave and let the green dragon have the town? And I was like, yeah, that makes the most sense, actually. I just ran myself into a complete corner on this one. Yeah, screw the town.
Yeah.
For the next 20 adventures, it was run by a green dragon. So, because everyone there was like kind of horrible. So, I do have a question about the Scandinavian myth, though.
Yeah.
So this cat will eat you if you don't get new clothes?
Yeah. So
Okay.
it was apparently kind of capitalist and messed up. It was a way.
I'm not sensing that at all.
Okay. So back in the day, the people who, and if I'm wrong, I am sure everyone on the internet will yell at me, but from my research,
don't worry, they will anyways.
Yeah. The people who like owned the spinning mills and wool mills would reward their workers who spun the wool into, or spun like flax into wool or whatever, would reward their workers who finished their work with like socks and sweaters for them and their whole family. So if you didn't finish your work before Christmas, you didn't get anything. And then there was, so not only did you not get new clothes, but there was also an additional punishment where this cat would come and eat you and your entire family.
Wow. Okay.
That kind of sounds like something that like some kid was like, oh, now bind socks again, like and the parents were like, let me tell you something, you are not only lucky but blessed to have parents who value your survival to the point of giving you new socks every year.
Yeah.
And not just because now binding takes 1,000 years. That's not true. It's actually really fast, but I'm lazy.
Yeah.
I am looking.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry. Go ahead. I'm distracted by, I finally found the exact piece of artwork you're talking about, and that needs to be a frame poster. That is amazing. The Bodoc over the baby.
Oh, yeah.
That's fantastic. And this is obviously art that was commissioned for this.
Yeah.
That same artist did the layout for the book. So
yeah.
That's so good. And who is it?
David Markowski. He's the one who also did the layout for, at least part of the layout for Uncaged Volume 4. He has a lot of pieces in Uncaged, and he produced Friends, Foes, and Other Fine Folks. He is like a ridiculously talented human.
So what kind of niche do you think this fills for DMs Guild in particular? For like, what itch does this scratch for someone who's going to DMs Guild, like especially this holiday season, looking for some adventures?
I think it's a really good holiday present. Also, people tend to want to run holiday adventures, and this is one that you can pull from like throughout the year, because we've got summer in here too.
Yeah.
Also, there's a cool thing where it's not just one interpretation of the season.
Right.
Like, for example, in the summer, we have one where you literally take part in a volleyball game between two deities. And then there's another one that's about how summer is terrible, and it's basically like Pompeii all over again, because that's what summer feels like to that writer.
Right.
So it's not just one idea. There's a lot of different festivals mixed in. Oh, and when you go to a music festival.
Yeah.
Actually. So
there's one by Oliver Clegg where you're stuck in a time loop and you have to relive the same 3 hours of one day or something. It's 500 days of summer. It's so good. I just love like
the
weird
town is done
horror.
Nuts.
It's so good. I love it. I edited it and I love it.
Oh, so
the town like doesn't even care anymore, so they're just like killing each other because they don't care.
Oh god! And then
it's like the Good Place.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, The Good Place is a fantastic example.
Yes, it's like The Good Place. It's so good. I love it.
I'm so scared for the end of the adventure when it's like the last day and they didn't know. They've like committed murder and everything else.
Yeah.
I don't want. Yeah, I see some bad places this is going. I like winter over summer personally, but that's because I worked on a farm or the sun. Any other favorites? It is. This is over 200 pages. This is a hefty book.
Mm-hmm.
That you're
It's
getting.
a chunker.
Yeah, I think I'm looking at. I think the PDF is 179, which means that the hardcover book is probably about 200, including the other stuff in there, and that includes like monster stats, handouts, maps, stuff like that.
How important in narrative do you think it is to avoid? I mean, my favorite adventures always have been, when the player gets to decide who's right and wrong sometimes. Mm-hmm. When you can actually talk your way out of a situation where it doesn't have to be a throwdown, knockdown fight, or there's actually a moral to story, because that's kind of the origin of storytelling. Like it's either propaganda for a mill farm or it's like a moral lesson or a warning or something like that. So I noticed these adventures are very much themed in that direction. And in general, all of you as writers have been very cognizant. Oh God, I can't say anything today. It's a good thing I'm on camera and I speak for a living. Been very aware of that type of the tropes that you see in common adventure writing.
What was the question? I'm sorry.
I'm failing utterly as an interviewer
it's
today.
Okay. No,
it's okay.
It's okay.
No.
I got it. I think that's something that kind of brought us all together, is that like, that's why we're all interested in Uncaged in the first place, is because we like flipping tropes and taking, is that kind of what you were asking?
Yes.
Okay. Is that we kind of like taking the idea that, the adventurers might not be the good guys who are going in and going to enact a colonialist narrative and fix things for all of the poor people who live in the town who just were waiting for stronger people to solve their problems. Or that the monsters might not necessarily be bad. Maybe they're protecting something that's important to them. Maybe they have agency. Maybe there's some other thing that, the townsfolk haven't bothered to learn, or the adventurers don't know.
For you, TK, what's something that now that you're an adventure writer, a published adventure writer, do you see any themes that you want to explore more moving past this adventure? Or tell me about this.
For this adventure, I got to I didn't get to flesh out Chult as much as I would love to, but I would love to go in and flesh out like Chult or like fantasy Africa, because the child and the village are both from Chult, they're Chultan, I guess, in this story. And so it's Chultan monsters and stuff in this adventure. And so I really like that idea of like, what might Chult consider to be, like, some people, even knowing the context of the mom having put the child there as part of a pact with the intention of saving it later, would still look at that and say that is an evil act. Yeah. And so I like exploring things like that. I will continue to put multiple conclusions in adventures. This one has an evil, a neutral, and a good choice for conclusions. And since I'm a person who doesn't like children being in danger, the evil choice removes the PCs from the scene through inaction.
Yeah.
But it just, I think I would explore more like, how do we look at another culture and look at the way that they have solved these problems, and can we be okay with that? Can we give up our desire for controlling other people around us?
That's very interesting. That's very interesting to role play too, or on the table.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to DM this adventure at some point. You have a phone call.
Yes, I do. It's It's from my husband, and I unfortunately have to decline it.
I have to take the high ground now. My cell phone doesn't go off. We have a few questions from chat. Do any of these adventures result or involve the use of wish?
Like the wish spell?
Yes.
I don't think so, but if someone has access to it in tier 4, I don't see why they couldn't use it.
Yeah.
Very, very, very
I'm
specific.
Cool with it. I can't think of any off the top of my head, but my next one will.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I get the question, because there are often in all mythologies, eventually someone does pop off a wish, right, and something terrible happens. So yeah.
I know the very last adventure in the book is the tier 4 winter adventure, and it has an explicit warning for the GM at the beginning that says, like, this could very likely be a campaign ending event. Like, your players will likely die. So this is a way to go out with a bang.
What a blessing.
So wish could be helpful in that one.
Okay, good to know. Pack up on wish. Roll the 33% on that. Another question is this Adventures League legal, or maybe eventually? I don't know that anything in DM's Guild is, because of that 2-book rule, which is, I'm not in charge of Adventures League, but I would possibly change that. It would be fantastic if that was included. Like, right, Adventures League does have like a set of adventures that is like cleared. You can do it in epics and everything else and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I'm in the middle of writing one for Gary Con right now.
Oh, you are?
Actually.
Oh, interesting. I guess I'll be playing that.
Just have to silence this phone.
Okay.
What was your favorite thing about putting this book together, and what was the most difficult thing?
Cool. So my favorite thing actually kind of happened twice. First, it was seeing all of the writers submit their outlines and kind of like our brainstorming section, kicking their ideas around. And because I kind of didn't know what I was doing, I didn't even want to have an outline submission time. They asked for it, and I was like, I hate outlines, but if you want to give them to me, do it. And then I loved it because I got to read what everybody was working on and their thought process. And it was great. And then later, when they were in the drafting phase and working with their artists, seeing all of the artworks in progress coming in the Discord was incredible. Seeing these pieces that were being worked on brought to life was amazing.
That's great.
And I loved working with the team that I assembled. I started out at the beginning with Jen Peg, who was the art director. It was like as much her idea as mine. She was the one who was like, we should have all of the seasons. She did our cover along with David, who did the art for TK's Adventure. They collaborated on that. And then David did the layout. Kat Evans and Liz Gist collaborated to run the editing together, and I would be lost without them. The most stressful part was basically just coordinating things, tracking down people who were late on stuff, which is always hard to do.
TK, do you have good advice for someone who is just now finally having to write their first adventure, now that you've been pushed and bullied into doing it by your friends?
Yeah, don't be scared of mechanics, because everybody else is just as scared as you are of mechanics. So just have 3 or 4 friends that'll look over the mechanics with you. Do the outline that they send you when they send it to you. Do it. Do that outline. And then I would probably say, like, if they give you a word count, and that word count is around 3,000, that doesn't mean
3,500.
Right. That doesn't mean write an 8,000 word adventure and then try and figure out where everything's gonna go, know how that adventure is gonna end, and if you have to, when you take the adventure template, go ahead and say there's going to be this many 100 words in this one, this many 100 words in this part, this many 100 words in this part. Go ahead and write that box text out. Have somebody go through the box text separately from when they're editing everything, because your adventure editors, a lot of them are going to be a little scared to edit your box text because they don't want to mess with your voice. So send that box text to like another friend or something and be like, does this sound silly? So that's awesome. That's pretty much. And like, hey, if you want to write an adventure, heckin' do it. You know, there's a lot of resources for people who will read through it and at least be a beta reader for you for, if not free, for cheap. I'll do it. Heck.
Yeah. Are there authors that you look up to?
Ashley and Lisa, very much. And I DM'd both of them several times, being like, will you please read this?
The direct messages, not DM'd.
Well, no. I was just like, I like sent them a video chat and I was like, you're going to clear the next 3 hours from your schedule because we're going to go through this adventure right now. We're play testing it. I messaged them. And plus, like, of the two of them, they've got some of the finest, most polished, and some of the most professional work for Dungeons and Dragons under their belts of anyone I know. And they're obligated to be in a show with me, so they can't ignore my DMs. All I say is like urgent miss stuff in the email subject, and then they have to look at it. Like,
it's a lot of leverage.
You can't get rid of me.
Yeah. We are in a party together. I can kill your character if I
it's like, give me feedback or else Constantina gets it.
Yeah.
Not Constantina.
Yeah. I'll take away the werejackal curse.
No.
I was going to say, Ashley wrote our foreword, and this probably would not exist. It definitely wouldn't exist without her, because Uncaged was the first thing I ever wrote. So thank you, Ashley.
She's watching you right now, isn't she?
She is.
We have a couple more questions from chat. What ways have you all explored to manifest the corruption over time from PCs spending time in an evil plane? Most of Descent into Avernus DMs I see don't do much with that. Very specific question. It depends on if you have an adventure where you are in an evil plane of existence. So
I love this question.
I've done the opposite, where someone was in a good plane, but I treated it as not good. So, but go ahead and answer this question, TK.
My team is in Ravenloft, and they are going to Harakir in season 3, which is going to have a lot of Descent into Avernus tied in with it. Anybody who is an OG Ravenloft player or like read novels and stuff know that there are some instances of devils being summoned into Ravenloft, mostly in the hopes that they could break through the mists and get Azalen Rex out.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, anything that is summoned into Ravenloft cannot leave. So they have to go somewhere. And in our story, they have gone to Harakir.
That is your answer.
I handle them being in a corrupt or mostly evil environment by giving them numerous opportunities to do evil in ways that are very enticing. And then the stakes just get higher and higher to punish them with. I'm a monster.
That's fantastic. How about for yourself?
I actually just wrote an adventure, published really. I wrote it, I guess, a month or so ago for Midwinter Got Ghost Stories, which is on DM's Guild, and it is a Gothic Earth group of adventures that all involve this one unfortunately cursed family in Ravenloft. And the fun thing with Gothic Earth is that it's very much based in Victorian England, and your spells just don't work a lot of the time. And so in mine, this cursed family has a lot of undead that come to their house and haunt them every 5 years for something that one of them did a long time ago. And they have to figure out how to deal with that when I think half the time or more their repel undead might backfire on them.
Okay. I love creepy Victorian stuff. I love Crimson Pink.
Yes.
I think that's a good example.
Yeah.
That's a lot like that. That's the last good really Victorian horror film I saw, actually. I did run an adventure and wrote one where there's this plane of existence in the D&D multiverse where you have literally one plane here and one plane here, and they're upside. It's basically like there's an upside down, so you can see the other plane up above. It's called Bitopia, and if you spend too much time there, you have to roll, and you will eventually become neutral or lawful good. And so I figured, well, if someone's super lawful good and kind of evil at the same time, they would make a prison there and send evil creatures and characters there to get brainwashed by the plane of existence. And so that's why I did. And I decided that Beholder is like held
That's
aloft by the evil
horrific.
itself. So there's like a dying Beholder that can no longer float in that adventure. So that's why I did. I find good to be more terrifying than evil, to be honest. So,
I thought you were gonna say you made it like the Civ thing where if they were so good, they would just flip to evil like Gandhi.
Oh,
I don't know why, even knowing what Bitopia is, I don't know why when you said I made them roll, I was like, yeah, reverse gravity on them.
yeah, no,
Split the party.
I mean, that's what you kind of want to always happen.
Split the party, reverse the gravity, and one of them floats up to the other plane. It'll be great.
Based off their moral choices.
Bitopia is a very different thing for me.
Yeah, that's where.
Everyone's got a different take on that plane.
Flip that switch. I'm sorry. Yeah. Can we make jokes like that? I'm sorry. Please edit that out.
I think we're okay. I think we'll be all right.
Sorry,
Worse things have been said. We have another question. How do you deal with a DM that punishes the PCs in game? I had a Cloak of Displacement, and all the attacks started to become saving throws and auto hit attacks. That sucks.
I just wouldn't play with it anymore.
Yeah, how'd you get that Cloak of Displacement? Did the DM give it to you? That's very strange. I'd pretty much hopefully you can sit down with your DM and be like, hey, this is getting very frustrating for me. I feel like I'm not as effective in combat.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a way for me to keep this item and still be effective in combat? Because that would be very frustrating for me if every attack from then on is saving throws and auto hit attacks. That feels. I don't know your relationship, so I will use your word punishing, even if I don't know if I would personally feel punished. But yeah, that's very frustrating, very, very frustrating. And if they are not willing to work with you, supposedly their friend playing a game with them, then it may be time to find another group and DM.
It certainly sounds like a very big auto correction, and this happens sometimes. I think we've given players like magical items that are like super powerful, and then the DM feels they need to solve the issue. Like, okay, how do I make this challenging for them now that they are really great at avoiding being hit all the time? Yeah. But that's an auto correct. Like that's an overcorrection to be like making that constant. Because why have a Cloak of Displacement? Like, why have a Cloak of Invisibility unless you're going to sneak in somewhere?
Yeah.
Like, if you're going to make it exactly as hard as it was before, to the point where it's a useless item, then that's not really fun. That's kind of metagaming as the DM. So I would
Yeah.
talk to your DM, because they're likely not doing it on purpose. I hope that they're just they may have gone into a versus mode in the brain.
Yeah,
And
because that's like giving you a cloak of invisibility and then giving all the monsters true sight.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, my favorite thing to do is like give the players tons of stuff, so they have a couple of adventures where they're like, "Wow, we're gods, or we're rich. We have all these magical items," and then take it all away. It's a Star Wars trope of mine. I used to do. You know, like you build up your ship and then the ship explodes. It's always like the worst thing.
The monster.
Yeah. I've noticed I like giving them items that they don't know what they do. So they kind of just have to roll like a
I love
D8 or a D10 to see what happens.
Time to attune.
I love giving characters. I just did this recently. And I did for I had an Asgardian game. I gave them like Thor's hammer, and they were level 1, and they're like, I don't want this. No. Like, who would want this? And everyone had to like run for their lives because everyone wants it and they can't use it. And like I introduced the Wand of Orcus for fun. And you don't even want to touch it. You'll just become a zombie and die. So it's always kind of fun to like introduce a magical item that is overpowered, that you want to get rid of as soon as possible. So I hope that answered your question. We got another question. Are there any new magical items in this book? As I love magical items, especially common ones that are just for fun. That's a good question.
There are, actually. I'm trying to see if they're all like together in the appendix or if we just did that for the monsters.
Yeah, I know there's monsters, and I don't know the context of this, and I hope I'm not spoiling everything, but I know there is a kombucha monster.
There is.
What?
Yeah.
That's at the music festival.
I did not edit that adventure, and
that's Christina's. It's awesome.
I'm horrified.
Yeah, I'm really concerned about the after effects of the kombucha monster.
But I'm also in love with it. Like,
yeah. So in some of the winter ones, there's some that one of my favorites is so there's an adventure that's all about knitting, basically, and you get magical knitwear at the end of it.
Oh, I love that. That's fun.
Yeah.
I'm mad, but I love it.
I would like an artificer that knits. I made a spider that wove like bags of holding out of its sphincter. It was a weird adventure.
You could have just ended the sentence at bags of holding and we would have understood, but no.
I need to really paint a word picture, okay?
It was very evocative.
Yeah, well, happy holidays, everyone.
Merry Strahdmas.
You better watch out where your mitts. What is wrong with my brain? Your stockings came from.
You better watch out. You better watch out. You better watch out.
That is the name of an adventure soon to be on DM's Guild. You just better watch out. 3 times. I can't wait to actually delve into this. Yeah, there are some terrifying monsters in this, but Kombucha Monster has me the most concerned.
I love Kombucha Monster.
That's what it's called.
I love the way Jen drew the Yule Cat for mine, actually, because usually it's just a house cat that's like as big as a mountain.
Yeah.
And she said, like, I want it to be a fashion cat because it wants you to have new clothes. So she basically drew like a mountain tall tabaxi that's like it, like Miranda Priestley, the cat.
Okay, that's what I was hoping that you would say. I was like Devil Wears Prada, like
yeah. Yeah,
like,
she just wrote fashion cat in chat.
It's terrifying.
I love your Yule Cat. I love the idea of taking creatures that are regular in nature and making them into horrific beasts in Dungeons and Dragons. Like, it is a cat, but make it as big as a mountain. It's like, oh no. Oh dear.
I like playing circlet of intellect on monsters that shouldn't have them, like a spider or
Yes.
something, or a snail that has like an intelligence of 19, like your evil mastermind giant snail or something that just shouldn't happen. A gelatinous cube with a helm of telepathy inside.
What would happen if you threw it into a gelatinous cube? Could you
I think everything happens when you throw it into a gelatinous cube.
Yo,
the rule.
Hear me out though. You know those fire ants, and I've told this to several people, so it's okay. I told this to Jim, so I hope Jim someday does it. Fire ants, and they, the ones that bite each other and become rafts.
Oh no!
So they can stand on each other 30 tall to make a tower. They can't do more than 30, but they can do 30 tall. Those, but medium-sized.
Ew.
Are you trying to give me nightmares?
But medium-sized,
like
and maybe one of them is wearing a circlet of blasting.
Oh my god!
It was bad enough in my Pugmire stream when I attacked them with dire ticks on the first.
Oh, dire ticks sound awesome!
That is disgusting. No.
One second.
No.
Let me just get my pen.
God.
Dire ticks.
Dire ticks. How is that not just official lore?
That's amazing.
It is in Pugmire.
I love this more than anything.
Old 90s movie where they had giant ticks or something, right? This is in like an X-Files episode.
Okay, I don't have my notebook with me. Whoever's in chat and is also in the Tales from the Mist Discord, please just write dire ticks in the Channel of Dread channel, please. Thank you.
Dire tick for Chult with the dinosaurs would make a lot of sense.
Oh yeah, it would.
Yeah, they got enough to feed off of.
That'd be awesome.
It just enters your entire back.
Thank you, Oboe Crazy. I appreciate that. Lauren went ahead and put it in the Discord for me. Thank you, Lauren.
Lauren is the best. All right. Well, that's upsetting. And I was thinking of taking a nap after this, but that's not going to happen.
You would like these things I created for a little Scarred Lands compendium called Tentacular. They're kind of based on cranium rats, but they're tentacles. So
I love them.
So one by itself is like basically as smart as a piece of spaghetti, but together they can become as sentient as like any kind of person, and they like to devour people and wear their clothes. So they crew pirate ships, and people think they're ghost ships or ships like run by a kraken, but really it's just a bunch of tentaculars. So,
I love them.
Thank you. So I give you a thing for an adult tentacular, like a swarm of them and a baby that you can raise.
Oh no, I love it.
Oh my god. Now I want a zombie. What's that called? A barnacle zombie, where barnacles just grow into your brain.
Yes.
Only like the barnacle part is like your bone sticking out of the skin.
Yes. Oh my gosh. For Cobalt Press, I did a deep sea behemoth, which is like, I don't know if y'all have ever seen gulper eels. Have you ever seen
No.
So gulper eels have elastic jaws and elastic tum-tums.
I do know. Yeah.
So they can eat things twice as big as them. So it's that, but gargantuan size. So they can swallow whales whole, and they shoot like telepathic stuff and things like. It's very cool. It's just like, but if they're pierced, then they'll explode.
Oh god.
And they explode into acid, which
water
will not protect you from.
I love explosion. Yeah, that's so creepy.
Explosions.
It's a terrible film
called a Crackupine, actually.
A Crackupine.
It's birthed in shipwrecks, and the ship pieces become like embedded in their skin, and then it can explode the ships out like porcupine quills.
Yes.
Whatever this one of those too.
Whatever this interview was about, this is what it's about.
Not about that. I just see a kraken. That's got like an old-timey 17th century ship as its like shell that it crawls out of. Like it's just this permanent shell that it carries on its back. That's upsetting. Acid and Water is terrifying. I feel like a really terrible movie might have done it once, and it's like probably Alien Resurrection, where one of the aliens died in the water. But like, how creepy is the cloud of acid? Oh, that would be so
Yeah.
good.
Oh my gosh, so scary. I feel like D&D doesn't use mantis shrimp the way that they should be used, because I feel like mantis shrimp would be so good.
We've definitely taken a turn in the interview. I need to look up mantis shrimp. I give my shark.
Yes.
I give my goblins second jaws, like goblin sharks have.
Yes. Oh, so spooky.
Yeah, like because you're like, oh, it's a regular goblin. No. Also, it's infectious, and you'll become a goblin too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like my were-goblins.
See, that's what goblins are like, but goblins with a Y in Feast of Goblins, which are unrelated to goblins, but you know what I mean. And they like bite your face off, and it's awesome.
Oh my god, mantis shrimp are horrifying.
Yeah. Plus, they punch so fast they can boil water.
No.
Yes, they can. And they have like 32 cones of, or maybe 16 cones of color, like in their eyes, so they can see on wavelengths that we can't even imagine.
Oh, so they know, like,
love that.
I would give it like it.
So they got like true sight and
it can
stuff.
tell if you have like it can detect your emotions, your thoughts.
Yes.
Because of like it can always know. It's not necessarily like hyper intelligent, but it always knows when you're lying.
Yeah, they will
So
mess you up.
your goblins made me think of Gwendy B, one of the Book of Seasons and Uncaged and literally everything artist. She's so good. Is playing on an all uncaged stream that I DM called Three Flings. It's the adventures
fantastic.
of three tieflings, and she is a tiefling with absolutely no magic, but instead she has rows of teeth like a shark.
Yes.
So we modified her so she has a bite attack instead of like hellish rebuke. So she like stabs a creature and then just takes a big chomp out of them.
We need more playable races
Yeah.
with weird stuff. Because I played Rend with TK, and Rend is just a bunch of magical. It's my new main.
I love Rend.
He's just a stack of magical items that sat too long in a dungeon over like thousands of years, and so he's now sentient, and he's just a pile of like garbage. Kind of looks like
Yeah.
Ultron Mark 1. Like he's all kind of Halloween-y and acid burns and all this
So like
stuff.
a treasure golem?
Kind of like a treasure. I didn't even know
More
that
like
existed.
a trash golem.
But yeah, he's very
More like a
sincere, but
yard
also
sale
will also murder her at the drop of a hat. And has a
Yeah.
little-
And then he and Tammin would put like rocks in their mouths. It was great. It was a good game.
I love
It
it.
was fun. I remember throwing Patrick Rothfuss as a weapon.
Oh yeah.
That's right.
Was he playing that emo kid?
That's right. He was playing an emo kid. That was a very weird time.
What a time to be alive.
Do we have any other questions from chat? I know we got off base with the monsters, but now I want to just talk about this all day long. God, what other things like horrify me? God, acid slugs, when you step on them, they're actually filled with acid. That's upsetting.
Oh, I will tell you about a monster that's going to be in season 3, though. I'm sorry. I know I took over this with monsters, but I'm going to do it real quick, fast. Okay, it's
for Tales of the Mist.
Yeah, it's going to be don't listen, Ashley and Lisa. I know you're in the chat. Don't listen. It's going to be like a gelatinous cube, but it does crushing damage instead. So it's like a giant. Have you ever played with those kids' toys that are like they're like the plastic toys, and they've got like water and glitter inside them? You could put your hand in, then it rolls down your arm and stuff like that.
I hate those. Those are so creepy. Yeah, I know those. Yeah.
It's like that. It's like a gelatinous donut. And so when you go inside, it like does that crushing damage. It's gonna be so good.
What is your most feared monster in D&D?
For me, a monster I'm scared of? Oh my gosh.
Like you're just like, no.
It's my favorite monster, and that's a Rimmeraz.
Oh, really? Wow.
They're so scary.
They are scary. I don't like bugs in winter. Right?
Oh, they're so scary. They generate all that heat, and then they like swallow you, and you take crushing damage and fire damage.
Yeah.
It's the worst.
Yeah, I do hate them. I do hate them. I remember actually watching like one of the Star Trek reboot movies and thinking that because there's like a bug that like showed up for
so
some reason.
good. It's so good, and it like picks it up or something. I made them in my home game. I put some of my people up against them, and their scales were even bigger, so they were able to glide. Because some, so they could like they picked up with the wind, and then they could fly.
That's like first edition too.
Yeah,
they're like old school.
Yeah.
And how about for you, Jess?
So excited.
Ooh, I actually just wrote one and it made me more afraid of them, even though I love them, which is Rakshasas, because they're like gaslighting the monster.
Yeah.
But they're so pretty.
Those are really good too. And plus that spell immunity.
Yes. And like, they're tough, and all of their spells like mess with your brain, so you never know what's going on.
Yes, my in my home game, I had a cleric, an Aasimar cleric, that was going through this whole like ritual thing with his temple and his god and everything. He had to be exorcised of like some ridiculous nonsense, but while he was under, a Rakshasa came through and was terrorizing the town while he was like in this like religious coma. And so he was like, yeah, I'm gonna run out of the temple and blah blah blah. Well, the thing is earlier in the session we had described this whole thing where he was putting on like these robes and taking off all the armor, and there was this whole ritual to it and everything. He's like, yeah, I'm running out of the temple and blah blah blah. He's like, yeah, and then I'm gonna hit him with my mace. And I was like, the mace you left in the temple?
Oh, no.
And so he's just out there in like pajamas. And he's like, I don't. And so he's trying to sacred flame this Rakshasa from far away. It was rough.
No.
It was a bad day.
No. Yeah, we well, first off, never play a wild mage in Ravenloft. This was second edition Tome of Magic where they introduced wild magic, and I was playing a wild mage, and we ended up in Ravenloft, which I adore Ravenloft, and we were surrounded by Strahd zombies, and then I had to roll on the wild magic table. One of the rolls at the time was that we lost all material items on our persons, and we were completely naked and had no weapons on top of a hill surrounded by Strahd zombies. It did not go well. Yeah. We died naked on a hill. It was a rough session.
That's rough, buddy.
That's like the nightmare that you have, like not the adventure you want to play. Yellow musk creepers freak me out, and like the old drawings where the vines are like growing out of their heads and stuff like that, like the zombies that get made from yellow musk creepers.
Then you're in luck
about their adventure
because there are yellow musk creepers in my adventure for Book of Seasons, out now on DMs Guild.
It's all coming full circle.
Coming full circle.
We got there. We just pure nightmare fuel for your holiday season, and now
we did it.
Man, we can do it. How much is the book right now? It's on DMs Guild. You can purchase it right now.
Yep. The PDF is just under $20, and the hardcover is more.
It probably should be.
The hardcover is a little bit over 40.
A little bit over 40. All right, that's pretty cool. Why? Well, I obviously I think the yellow musk creeper for your adventure TK makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. They're slightly modified. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
The big bad for my adventure is also a throwback. So anybody who's read Chult from like a long time ago, they'll be like, I appreciate this. Thank you. Thank you for bringing this horrifying thing back to us. And I'll be like, you're welcome.
Welcome.
I do it for you.
I'm glad I can make that happen.
I am.
Is there any parting thoughts on the book or things that scare you before this holiday season commences in full?
I would never want to die by Sturges.
I love Sturges. I love them.
No.
I hate them so much.
I wrote an encounter where you go to a restaurant and find out that sturge eggs are the like new caviar type delicacy, except that humanoid pH in the stomach is exactly what's needed to incubate them.
No.
No.
Oh, you just have little pokey needles in your stomach. You see them all
Yes,
just getting
yes,
like
yes,
No.
yes,
pushing
yes,
through.
yes, yes, yes.
TK, I kind of get the Ravenloft thing with you now.
I'm a monster.
I thought I played things pretty creepy. I mean, I made that's upsetting. I don't know that I could play in one of your games ever.
Oh no, you'd be fine. You would be fine.
Yeah, with some mild sedatives. I don't want to eat sturges. I don't want sturges poking out my belly. That's like the worst. You like horrifying things.
I do.
It's so upsetting. How about for you, Jess? Is there
A horror thing?
Yeah.
Oh, besides sturges.
It's kind of taken over my brain. I can't think of anything but sturges
No,
right
that
now.
was too many good vibes with sturges. Gotta go scarier.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, I would. So there's a really bad monster that I love that I actually wrote. So that's gonna sound really vain.
No, it's not gonna sound vain. It's just gonna sound like you're proud of what you do.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's for Pugmire, but it's called The Curious Puppy. And
No.
it's
I'm ready.
And it so it's in Morty Corgi's Scroll of Mysteries.
Oh no, I'm ready to love them no matter what.
So it's a puppy that you just kind of encounter, and it can read your thoughts, and it states your deepest, darkest fears about yourself as fact. And asks you about them. And the longer you're with the curious puppy, your ability scores go down by 1 every 2 days.
Oh my God.
And it only has like 2 stamina points, which are Pugmire hit points. But if you kill it, it comes back 7 days later, exactly where you found it, like a lich, because doubt never actually dies.
Oh my God, I love this puppy. It's so much like
This is like It Follows, but with a puppy.
well, it's a lot like what do they call them? The Grim, or like the Black Hound,
Yeah.
which is another name. A lot of people call the Black Hound also Depression. Like they call Depression the Black Hound.
Right.
That's really common in the South,
Yeah.
to be followed by the Black Hound. It's Depression. And so it's like, I love that. I just do. I love that a lot. Is it a cute puppy?
Man.
It is. And
It
in
has to
Pugmire,
be.
like, you're a dog, so, you know, it's basically a child.
Oh my God, worth it.
I am not strong enough to play in anyone's campaign, apparently.
You are.
It's banned from the game that I run, actually, because they have a thing against like harm to children and harm to animals. So it's the only way to get rid of it is harm to both. There are no curious puppies in my game.
Yeah, that'd be pretty hard. I think I would just let my character die of doubt before killing a puppy. Well, you win, DM.
Too real, Todd. Too real.
All right. Thank you so much for being on the show and talking about this really awesome product. And also thank you for sending it to me. I'm really excited to like run a couple of these adventures over the holiday season. Check out on DMs Guild, Jess and TK. It's always fantastic to have TK here. Thank you, Jess. This is the first time you've been on the show. It's been wonderful talking to both of you. Check that out on DMs Guild. Again, what was the title? It should
Book
be in
of
chat as well.
Seasons, Solstices, and in early 2020, Equinoxes is coming out. So look out for that.
All right, fantastic. Happy holidays, everyone. Be sure to check out the book. Bye.